Welcome to Behind the Wheel, a District 7505 video series. I'm your host, Pete Berthaud, and I'm a member of the Marlton Club in South Jersey. And this episode features an interview with current district governor and Washington Township Club member, Tom Kozempel. He's right on your screen there. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing good, Peter. How are you?
So you joined Rotary in 2015, and you've served as president, VP, administrator, secretary, and as the district membership director while you were a district governor nominee. And while you were district governor elect, you created the Serve Better Action Plan, something we're going to touch on later in today's episode. But I just really wanted to start off with a thank you for being here. I've been trying to do this for a little while now.
Yeah, well, we've been busy with our district conference and other things, so we finally found some time, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me.
Absolutely. The goal of our Behind the Wheel video series, for anyone who this might be your first time watching us, it's to keep current members informed on our current initiatives. And that's kind of why Tom's here, kind of talk about the year a little bit. But we also want to showcase our district to a broader audience by educating the public on our endeavors, whether that's charitable or otherwise. And so, like I said, been wanting to pick Tom's brain for a little bit here. And I want to start with how and why you joined Rotary.
Well, it's an old story, but a friend invited me to come to a meeting. And when I walked in, it was just a very comfortable environment. It's, Rotary's non-political, non-religious. And what I saw were some of the people that I knew who were different political parties and different ages. And they were all working together to help our community. And I just thought that was so neat. And I jumped right in.
That's great. And so you're in Rotary for a little while before you can be governor, but what makes you want to make that leap to governor? I'm assuming you were an AG or there was a little bit of a climbing of the ladder.
I never was an AG.
Okay.
But I had, as you mentioned, I had held all the jobs in my club, and I just wanted to have, I guess, a broader impact because I had done some things within our club. So I wanted to have a broader impact. I also wanted to share my expertise. In my career, I had done a lot of project management and a lot of strategic planning. And I wanted to expand on some of the things that I had done as president in our club. Like we had pursued new membership options. We were doing things with mental health. I had created a strategic plan for my club. And my mentor and one of the people that brought the attention of the district governor job to me said, the district also could use a strategic plan. It did not have one. So it was kind of like proposed to me before I even accepted or applied to have the position. But that was it, broader impact, sharing my expertise and expanding on some of the things we had done within my club.
I mean, that sounds familiar, Tom. That's why I'm doing this video series. Part of my expertise was in this area. And so we try to help Rotary in whatever way that we have a little bit of knowledge. Going into your year, what were your goals as district governor?
Actually, I had 20 goals. I called them targets because they weren't numeric goals. It was more increase, decrease, improve. Those kind of terms were used. But it was 20 targets. And I'll just name a few of them. One of them was to grow youth services, which had gone dormant during the COVID period. And there were some things I wanted to do with youth services. Also, encourage club growth and club extensions and new clubs. And I also wanted to start using more digital technologies for fundraising and video storytelling. And you're a perfect example of that, coming up with the idea to do podcasting, which is, of course, a form of video storytelling. Some of the other things were demographic related, trying to lower the average age, increase diversity. But one of the main goals was to encourage active action planning by all the clubs. So that every club, as different as they may be, some clubs are thriving, some are struggling. The idea was to have an action plan of some kind and make sure that action plan was aligned with what we, the district, were doing and what Rotary International has in their action plan. So alignment was another big thing.
I wanted to get to your Serve Better plan, but first, you mentioned the clubs and planning. What are the guiding principles you kind of wanted or asked the clubs to follow during your year?
Yeah, at the end of each visit to every club, you would like to have a call for action, right? And what I said was, regardless of what your club plan is, I'm asking you to try and follow the 5 C's. And it just so happened the list I had made, they all began with C. So it fit together real
Hey, it
well.
works.
Yeah.
Catchy.
And what they were was, one was care for each other. That's the mental health aspect, the membership aspect of our clubs. The second one was collaborate with partners, other clubs, other businesses, other civic organizations. Third was change to meet needs of new members and the community. Fourth was communicate well and often to increase our public image. And last but not least, it certainly was to celebrate our successes, to have fun. We're a membership organization and a service organization.
Mhm.
So they were the 5 C's, and I left everybody with that at the end of my talk to each club.
Yeah, and those are great things, because so much about Rotary, it's not just about the purpose that we have, which is to serve, but it's about the community aspect as well and the fellowship. And I think those C's really covered it. And I wanted to move to the Serve Better plan, because while not maybe one of your 5 C's, alignment is something you talked about, and the Serve
Yeah.
Better plan and an action plan and whatever you want to call it. How did that come about? And I know that you said this is part of your expertise. Was this your idea, or did you see something that Rotary International was doing at a higher level and say, okay,
Well,
we need to
Rotary
apply that?
International has the action plan that is expressed to all the clubs, and we're in between Rotary International and the clubs.
Mhm.
So I was encouraged by some of our past district governors to create a strategic plan. You know, they knew my background a little bit, and I thought that was a great idea, because we needed something in between, because we serve the clubs, and we needed to have something that would align club plans with Rotary International plans. So I was encouraged by the past district governors. So while I was DGE, I took it upon myself to gather all the information, to lay out these goals or targets, and to create the strategic plan. I shared it with the leadership team, and everyone approved it. And the main objectives were to create our first strategic plan. Rotary doesn't like to use that term, so we call it the Serve Better Action Plan. And the idea was it was a plan for us to serve the clubs, but it included a whole pick list of probably 100 ideas under each strategy for the clubs to consider, and know that we were going to help them in those areas if they pursued any of them.
So you had a theme as governor. Your theme was kindness in action, something I really liked. What's the story behind kindness in action?
It's just my story with Rotary. You know, when I joined Rotary, like we said, it was a membership and a service organization. And the way the membership interacted was in kindness. It was just a really good fellowship. And we know the 4-way test is the basis of our membership is kindness. And everything we do, from the smallest local project to the largest humanitarian effort, is kindness in action. So, you know, we're an action-oriented organization. So I took the two and put it together, and everybody I seemed to like the theme, and it aligned well with the international theme for my year, which was create hope in the world.
Correct.
And
Yep.
it's Rotary kindness on a massive scale, that we're international, that can create hope in the world. We can actually think that big, right?
That's
So
right.
that's the story behind it. And then, of course, we had the Cool to Be Kind program for youth services.
I was just going to mention that, because I got a chance to interview with Randy about her It's Cool to Be Kind program. And you're right. It fits right in perfectly.
Yeah, and it was an underserved demographic, middle school. We do a lot with high school. We do a lot with little kids with Josh Diotter and dictionaries. But middle school was an important area too, especially right now coming off of COVID, to have them think about things like that. And, you know, our world today.
No doubt. So your primary message to the clubs is something I wanted to address, because we talked about the guiding principles and the 5 C's. But if you had to pick a primary message to the clubs over your tenure, what would it be?
My primary message, as I spoke to each club, we have 72 clubs, and my main point that I made with all the clubs is that this year was the perfect time to grow Rotary and to bring in new members. And the reason I said that is I felt there were three strengths that we have. One is, with all the polarization we see today in our world, Rotary is an alternative to that because of the way we're non-political, non-religious, and the kind of organization we are. So that was the first strength I felt we had. The timing was just, and what we provide was important. The second thing was our commitment, unwavering commitment for 119 years now to service. That hasn't changed one bit in 119 years. But what has changed is we've made smart changes, and that's the third strength that I felt we had. We've made smart changes throughout that 119 years, and we've gotten more diverse. We've changed the way Rotary operates. We've changed some of the rules and practices, and we've basically adapted to societal needs in order to stay relevant. I like to kid around and say we want to be the Netflix. We don't want to be the Blockbuster of nonprofits. So
that's right.
Those three strengths were what I emphasized to help make that point that it was a perfect time.
That's a good segue, actually, because you talked about a good time for Rotary, and this kind of leads me to your long felt beliefs about Rotary. You've been in Rotary almost a decade now. Do you have any long felt beliefs about Rotary, what it should or could be down the line?
I believe it's the greatest. I believe it's the best local service organization and international nonprofit. It's just that, let's face it, it's unfortunately not enough people know about it.
Yep. And
so what I try to do, and since I got involved with leadership at the district level, is I try to enthusiastically promote the power and the impact of Rotary. Our diversity, our global footprint, how effectively we serve our members and our communities and the world. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, and that is the biggest thing to me. And as being a somewhat younger person in Rotary, the idea that we need to make sure people know what it is. It's one of the reasons that one of your 5 C's was about communication and getting the word out about Rotary via this vehicle or whatever else it may be. And one way you can help us is subscribing to our channel and liking this video, whether you're in the district or not, because it will help Rotary and help people know what it is. Because I don't think a lot of people they see it, they might think it's related to cars or something like that, but it is a service organization. That's what it's always been about. And so, no, I hear you on that one. How do you feel that your year as DG has gone? Do you view it as a success? Do you feel like the district has progressed?
Yeah, and I don't feel it's my year as much as our leadership team and our assistant governors and our clubs have been fantastic. And I think we've made fantastic progress against the 6 strategies that are in our plan. And the one that we still struggle with and we have to do more with going forward in year 2 and year 3 is growth. I mean, this year we added a lot of new Rotarians. I think it was 125, maybe more, but we lost an equal amount. And that's the attrition issue that we're constantly been trying to battle. And I think club growth and exchange, different extensions, different meeting times, satellite type environment or branches of clubs are the answer to that, to attract new and different members to join us. And associated with that is doing a better job with engaging new members and retaining new members, so that they don't come and go and they stay a Rotarian for a long, long time. But at the end of this year, at our district conference, I prepared, I guess you could call it a report card on the state of the district. And what I did is I listed all the things that were accomplished under each of our strategies. And I think we did a pretty good job this year. And we'll do a better job in the coming years. We have a good team of people. And my role in the coming year is Rotary is starting something at the district and zone level called Action Plan Champion. and they're looking for an action plan champion within each district
Okay.
to work on just this kind of area, having plans, making sure they're aligned, and then, everybody's on the right page.
Interesting.
And
So basically someone to go between the district and the clubs to make sure the plan is being put in place around the district.
Right. The clubs are doing action planning. The goals are being set at all
Gotcha.
3 levels within your local club. You might have a set of goals entirely different. You might be a small club or a struggling club. You might be a vibrant club. So your goals are going to be different, but aligning that with what the district has, or the district aligning with that, and Rotary International, that whole, relationship is what I believe it's all being developed, but it's something each district has been asked to try and assign an action plan and champion. So I raised my hand to take that on next year.
Hey, things come from the top down, right? And you got to get those fingers in every section of the district, and I believe that's a good next step. And speaking of next steps, you kind of talked a little bit about. Is there anything else you wanted to reference in terms of what's coming up as we move forward here?
Not just we have changeover and induction coming up soon, so I'll be relinquishing my job as governor. But Steve behind me and Bill behind him, we're working together to make sure that this strategic plan and their plans continue to be modified, and we do a delta on it each year on how we're doing with progress. And now with the new action planning aspect coming from the zone, we'll incorporate that all into it.
I do admire the way you've implemented the organization of this plan, and so much of what we do in Rotary is hands-on. It's boots on the ground type stuff. But this kind of bigger picture thing is extremely important to any organization. And so I appreciate that about your tenure. And so I just wanted to say thanks for serving Rotary in the way that you have this past year. And do you have any final words before we kind of close this?
Yes, and they regard you. I'm a strong believer in the power of one, and you're a good example of that, because we wanted to do more with video storytelling, and you came up with the idea to do podcasting. Most people would have just thought, well, let me get my phone, cut a short video and post that on Facebook to advertise our next event, which is all still video storytelling.
Yeah, and a good idea.
You came forward with your experience with this, and it's been great. And I want to thank you for doing that. And it's been a lot of people like you that have helped us progress against all these targets that we set. Well,
there's so many individuals in Rotary that do so many cool things that maybe the club right next door to you doesn't even know about. And so that's why we wanted to do this. And we have a lot more work to do, a lot more videos to do. I've got a couple lined up coming up here over the summer as we move forward. And I'm excited because I do think it's going to shed light where it needs to be shed on all these great endeavors that we have going on across the district. So I'm excited about this next year when Steve takes over and whatnot. I think it's going to be great. But one more time, thank you, Tom, for being here today. I think what you had to say was important for our district to whether they knew it or not to get a re-up on some of that stuff. So thanks again.
And thank you, Peter.
No problem.
I really appreciate it, and for taking the time and to do this and to come forward with the idea.
And until next time, this has been Behind the Wheel.
Okay.